Hey, this is Paul from Les Fonts Guitars and welcome back to my shop. Today I'm going to do a short video on how to make a scarf joint neck. And I've done some before, but I think I'm going to go ahead and explain it a little more in further detail. Okay, what is a scarf joint neck? Okay, scarf joint neck is this. And let's explain just the scarf joint first. Say you had this piece of wood right here that you wanted to attach to this piece to make it longer. Well, you could cut an angle on this, say 9 degrees, whatever you pick. And 9 degrees, as a matter of fact, is what I use for my guitar neck angles, the headstock angles. You cut a 9 degree on this one, on the other side, and then you glue them back together. And then you'd have a longer board. In the case of a scarf joint neck, you're going to make that cut, but you're going to use the same piece you just cut off. You're going to flip it over, and you're going to glue it back, and that's going to give it an angle because your scarf is going to angle. Say it's going to angle down this way. When you add the other piece to it, you're gluing it this way, so you get that angle. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, contrary to belief, a scarf joint neck is very, very strong. I've had some that I just messed up on. I did something where I couldn't use it, and I took a hammer to it, and that thing broke everywhere but the glue joint. I was even stepping on it. It was just springing. I couldn't even snap it with the weight of my body. So I know they're strong. And the reason why they're strong is this. It's called short grain. So say you had a piece that you wanted to make a one piece out of, a one piece neck out of. So you need a thick piece. Depending on your angle, you need a thicker piece because you want to cut that angle into that thicker piece. What happens is, when you get to the point where you mill it all out and it's a guitar shape now, a neck shape, you're going to end up having a short grain area right where, just behind the nut or right at the nut. And because the grain's running this way and then your angle's going this way. So in that little section, you have short grain. It's a weak point. And a lot of guitar manufacturers put a adjustment hole right here to get at the truss rods. And so that hole is taking away material. That's making it even weaker. I do build guitars with one pieces. I do. And I do two things. One thing is I don't do is I don't put an adjustment up here for the truss rod. I don't put a hole in here. I do it all on the other end, on the body end. And I also build a volute into the back side of it. So that gives it some more material. And you're not taking away any other material on top here. But with the scarf joint, you don't need a thick piece of wood. You just need this thin piece right here. This is an inch thick, rough sawn. Okay? So I'm going to take this piece. This is 30 inches long, it's an inch thick, and it's 3.5 inches wide. I'm going to mill it down nice and flat, get rid of the roughness off of it. And then I'm going to take it over to my bandsaw, and I'm going to cut my 9 degree angle. And have a jig that I use. You don't have to use a jig, you can do it freehand. I've done it freehand. Because after you do that, you're going to prep those surfaces anyways. You're going to flatten them out because you have to glue two pieces back together. You want a perfect glue joint. Alright, so I hope that explained it pretty good on how that works. So without further ado, I guess let's just get to it. Alright, so let's flatten this out. I am going to use my new Flatmaster here. You've seen a video on this just recently, and I've always used one similar to this. Actually, I don't know if you can see it in the view, it's over there. But this is my new go-to for flattening lumber, man. I love using this thing. Anyway, enough of that. Let's do this. Let's get some vac on. said, it's like magic. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and put a straight edge on one of these edges on my table saw, and take it over to my bandsaw and cut the actual angle out of it. All right, so this is how I establish what's going to be my face side and what's going to be my back and neck side. This piece of wood doesn't really matter because I'm putting a veneer on the headstock face, but I do have a small blemish right here. It's very superficial. I decided I'm going to make this side the back of the neck because that's going to get carved away, and it's just almost outside the pattern of the neck. So that's my face. So I give myself some room. I usually go 6.5 inches. Actually, you see 2 lines here. I put a second line. I just moved it down a little further just to be safe, on a safe side. So it's 6 and 7 1/8 away. That gives me plenty of room for my headstock, because whenever you start sanding out and smoothing out these 2 surfaces after it's cut, you lose some material. So that could make this piece move this way, okay? There's plenty of room right there, but I just threw a line there to be safe. And then I'm gonna have to remark it on that side too, but so I drew my angles on both sides of the neck. You can do one side, doesn't matter. So when I did my angle, which is 9 degrees, I come up with and I put a line across down this end. This is where my cut's gonna start. I'm gonna start cutting, and the piece is going to go through the bandsaw this way, and it's going to cut in this direction. And then this piece here flips over and glues back after we prep the surfaces. Hopefully that makes sense too. So I'm going to move my line a little bit, and then I'm going to put it back in the machine. I'm going to put it in the jig, and I'm going to cut it on the bandsaw. All right, you can see right here, I've got my line. I'm using that first line here, not that one, this one. And I'm bringing it up so that the blade is just going to start taking a bite right there. If it goes anywhere in that area, I'm good. I know I got plenty of room. I've got a clamp on it just to keep it secure. I've flattened this one edge. I've surfaced both sides so it's nice and square. Let's go ahead and make that cut. And we're going to be going in this direction. Let the saw do the work. All right, I normally use my 3/4 1-inch blade in that bandsaw. I got my 1/4 in there, and I just took it slow. I didn't want to make too much work for myself. But here's the 2 pieces, right? Excuse me. So start it out like this. Cut it, flip it over, and it ends up being that. And you can see how much neck is left there. That's plenty neck. I've got plenty of room up here for the headstock face. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up this surface, and this surface is pretty good already, but I'm going to clean up some more because that's going to be the other glue surface. Okay, this other surface up here, I'm going to take care of. I'm going to do that on my flat sander as well, because you can't run this through a thickness planer because of the angle, right? So that machine is perfect for flattening out this area right here. And I leave them a little bit proud in this area, just so I can mill that down just right. It'll take that hump off or take that hump off. And then you'll have a perfect scarf joint neck. So let's go ahead and clean this up. And I probably still will hit this some more, just kind of get rid of that bump right there on a sander. All right, here we go. Now I've got two very clean surfaces, this side here and this side here, and they're going to glue together nice. It's going to be a nice tight joint. You can already tell. You can see it taking shape now, right? Alright, let's get it glued up. Alright, you know, I love all my tools and I trust them, but there's nothing like a little handwork to ensure things are completely flat, squared up, and at the right grit. I'll get a piece of 120 grit on this block right here, and I want that coarseness on both of these surfaces so that'll glue up nicely. So I'm just going to hit them with these and smooth things out. Gives it that bite I need for gluing. And I also love straight edges. Straight edges tell it all. I'm going to hold this up to the light, and I'm going to look at two different ways, lengthwise and widthwise, and make sure it's nice and flat. Same thing with this surface. This is the other glue surface. Just that one little extra step that ensures that I'm getting a beautiful glue joint, a flawless glue joint. I've got that line established. That's the straight line for it. And I'm going to check this way and this way as well. And we are dead on with everything. So these two pieces are ready for glue and clamping. All right, here we go. All right, guys. Well, I got a bunch of stuff on the table here, mostly clamps. There's a board here. It's got some kind of surface on it where glue doesn't like to stick. So I kind of break this out just for glue and things like this. And several clamps. I got some blocks for clamping, and they've got some tape on them so that glue won't stick to them as well. So what I did was I sized up how this is going to glue together and made sure that it fit within these blocks right here, these two blocks. They clamped down to the table and they're clamped to the board at the same time. And this is going to keep these pieces from moving out this way. Okay, because when you add pressure with glue, the hydraulics of the glue is going to make things move. And I left it a hair proud right here where the seam is. So that gets sanded down smooth later. We take care of things like that later on. So this is where it's going to sit. These two clamps are going to go here. I've got 4 clamps I'm going to use to clamp that together. And I've got clamps to hold this piece down to this table. One here, and one over here. You probably need another one over here, just to keep it all and keep it from lifting and moving. All right. Matter of fact, I need to find another clamp Put one back here. And I'll use this clamp right here. Let's make sure it's going to be big enough. Nothing too crazy here. Just some good old clamping. Alright, that's going to clamp that piece down right there. Alright. So, I'll go ahead and get the surface prep with glue and we'll start clamping. I'm going to put a little mark right here because we don't need the glue to go too much further past this spot. It saves on cleanup. Alright. And we're using Titebond aliphatic glue. Make sure we ain't got no crusties on there. You want this surface to be glued up nice and smooth. Not going to take a whole lot of glue, but we do want to see a little bit of squeeze out. Whenever I use this roller, it kind of thins it out a little bit, kind of because it's sticking to this roller. But this is a good little roller. This you get in the craft store. I used to do this different ways. I used to pin it, used to use screws, different things. But this is the best way to do it. And I'd like to come up with better ways. I'll come up with something. This works though. Okay, let's get these surfaces moved around a little bit. Always slide them together a little bit. Get this to the edge so that I can clamp it down. One clamp's going to be close to here. Good there. One right here. Well, let's use this shorter one here. It'll still reach. I'm just making sure that this thing doesn't twist and it stays nice and flat. Alright. One down here. Nothing crazy here. And one's going to go right here. Alright, I can already see squeeze up coming out. This surface right here. It's looking good. Now I'm going to clamp it this way. That's what he's called it for. I'm get it close to that edge. It's gluing up, the end of it's gluing up to. Try to get this board in the middle. This board's a little wider than what I normally use. So I'm going to center these clamps up. And you don't need an incredible amount of pressure. Too much pressure for glue joints is not good. It squeezes too much of the glue out, and you have nothing left there to do the job of gluing. One of these clamps reaches deeper. Well, two of them, the gray ones. It's not moving. The only squeeze outside I can see is this top one. But I'm going to assume the other side is looking just as good. it. And that's it. It's glued up. We'll come back in about 30 minutes and take the clamps off, and we'll take a look at what we got. All right, well, it's been glued up for about an hour. I put this one more clamp on here after the fact. I just felt like it needed to be pushed down a little bit. But anyway, it didn't need to be in here for an hour, but had other things to do, so now I'm finally getting back to it. Okay, let's run all these clamps off. These don't stick because I get the tape on them. So that's good. All right. There it is. There's a scarf joint. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this area nice and flat. I'm going to address this area as well with the Flatmaster, and this is going to keep, we're going to keep this line nice and straight. That's where the break angle is. All right, let's go to the Flatmaster. Here we go. Get that proud. Okay, if you can see that seam right there is real smooth. I mean, you're going to see it, but there's going to be a fingerboard on top of that. And when it's cut out in the back, you'll see the shape of the scarf joint, but it'll be nearly invisible. So what I've been doing is just adding pressure one way or the other. I noticed that it was a little thicker on this side of the board, and my line was not straight across. So I took my hand here and I put pressure this way and I pushed down this way. I was putting it through kind of like this, but not really. Just more pressure in this direction. And that took my line, my break angle line, and it squared it up. And then it went a little bit off on this side. So I did the same thing up here, and I put a little more pressure on this side, and I ran it through like that. So now it's nice and square, and that's a scarf joint ready for the rest of the process. So I'm gonna leave it here at this point because I think that's pretty good. Stop right there. I may show some more in another video. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got for this video. This is just a quick one, just to show you how to glue up a scarf joint neck. And now it's ready for the rest of the process. You know, we'll have to put a truss rod through here, shape it out, and there's a lot more to go, really. But anyway, this is it. This is a scarf joint neck. This is a very strong joint right here, and it takes less lumber. You use one piece of lumber and you create your angle with that. Okay, so if you like this video, go ahead and like it, share this video as well, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And we'll see you on the next one.